After playing POE2 and getting to Act to Cruel difficulty, I am done with the game. The main reason why is because I am sick and tired of the low drop rates. Everything from the gear to crafting materials is on an absurd low drop rate. I became stuck at the end of Act to Cruel. I needed to farm lightning resistance and a better weapon, and I was just done at that point. I am not going to grind hours upon hours without anything to show for it. It's not easy to get what you need. I am not wasting my time on this anymore. I like how the game looks, the visual effects, the gameplay is fun. There is a really good game behind all of this bad shit. So I am quickly going to list the things that are bad in the game. Number 1 is obviously the loot. It's too scarce, it's boring and obnoxious to not get anything to drop. Worst loot I have seen in an action RPG ever. The skill customization or expression is very lame and limited. You can even only put one type of support gem at a time on your skills. Honestly, Undecember has a much better skill customization and expression than this. In this game, it feels like you are forced into playing quote-unquote your class and doesn't reward creativity. The game keeps auto-aiming for you and changing the direction you mean to attack. Why do we need this shit? The maps are way too big and feel like labyrinths instead of an actual real place and makes them more annoying to navigate. The damage to the player is way too overtoned, the bosses have a lot of health, they have many one-shots, and all of this is exacerbated because of the lack of drops. Being surrounded and trapped by enemies is terrible and happens too often because most enemies are faster than you. They nerf builds but give no free respects. Navigating menus with gamepad is pretty bad. Spirit as a mechanic sucks. I think the stat requirements on skills are too unforgiving and too limiting. They tried to replicate Souls-like combat but only brought the bad things and not the good ones. Meaning, they implemented the trash quote-unquote Simon Says dodge or you fucking die, prehistoric slob boring mechanic, and then quote-unquote balanced the game around it. This is also why whenever you die everything is reset, because muy Dark Souls. Because if you remember in Dark Souls, whenever you die, you return to a previous bonfire and everything is reset. So it's the same here. So they changed the game to make it more like a Souls-like, but they didn't bother to implement the good melee combat. This is why this doesn't work. The combat and enemy behavior keeps working as in POE1. It's just hordes of enemies attacking you and spamming shit at you. There is no methodical approach to the combat. It's just mindless as before, but with a roll button and one-shots. And the game really isn't that much more quote-unquote slow. If you look at the endgame builds, you will see a ton of bullshit screen clearing, ridiculously fast damage that you see in POE1. So what the fuck are we pretending here? Because the game is not that much different in terms of gameplay, but it has worse build variety, less skill expression and customization, worse loot drops. We're basically left with a worse game than POE1. So I thought, why are they focused on making the loot worse? Why are they trying to make the game quote-unquote slower? Why are they trying to control the game more? And I think I know why. GGG is running an RMT scheme behind scenes. RMT stands for real money transactions. It's pretty obvious. Anyone with a little functional brain capacity should have reached this conclusion a long time ago. The way it works is they present themselves publicly as the quote-unquote true free-to-play game with no pay to win. And then behind the scenes they sell the gear and currencies themselves unofficially, so they get the best of both worlds, the good public image and the money from the pay-to-win games. So I did a little bit of research on the subject and found out this. This is a Reddit post that reads as follows: Forgotten Scandal, GGG's involvement in RMT. One day, a few years ago, a website selling Path of Exile items for cash, probably by mistake, mispriced the lightning coil, one of the top items back then, at 19.95. According to the players, it was quite a deal, which resulted in the sale of hundreds of these items within the first 2 weeks of the league. This caused the real in-game market to crash as it soon became flooded by the RMT lightning coils. Players, confused by such a sudden irregularity happening in the market, not only noted that it was unreal for that many lightning coils to drop so early, it was only the second week of the league, but also that all of these lightning coils had something anything in common. They were all item level 74. Due to that, they began suspecting there was some kind of exploit in the game which allowed to duplicate items. However, this was denied by Chris Wilson himself. When it became apparent that the lightning coils are coming from the RMT side, many began to wonder how it is possible that it has an infinite source of items. They decided to dig into this and doxed the owner of the website. A shocking fact came to light. He turned out to be Aaron Ciccelli, one of GGG's shareholders and a good friend of GGG's founders, and then it includes some sources. This was an eye-opener for me. GGG was generating items for sale on their shareholders' RMT websites. So as you can see, this event showed that the company is in fact producing items for the RMT sites to sell. Only fanatics wouldn't get to that conclusion or would be blind themselves to it, because that is literally what happened. Someone made a mistake, placed certain popular items on an RMT site for cheap, people bought a ton of them and resold them in-game for more. This influx of items caused a market crash. The community started to notice and the devs had to comment about it. Obviously, they never said, "Oops, we fucked up guys, we weren't meant to sell them that cheap, sorry." So they said they were investigating and that's it. After that, apparently they just increased the drop rates in an effort to obfuscate the items coming from the RMT, but people noticed this too. It is said that Chris Wilson ran an RMT scheme for Diablo 2 and with that money he funded POE development. It's pretty easy to see that he thought that it would be much better than instead of keep doing that, it will be much easier to develop his own game and make it revolve around RMT, where he will be the one pulling the strings and controlling every aspect of it. Only imbeciles, tools, fanatics, and dishonest cons will deny this is what actually POE is. A game that its sole purpose is RMT, and it's highly likely that there is money laundering involved into this. This is also why these games never had a functioning auction house in them, or an in-game system for any services like crafting and other shenanigans that happen for this game, because having all of these traits off-game is much easier for plausible deniability. So this is exactly why a lot of design choices in POE2 happen, because it's all about generating clients for RMT. This reminds me that the only time I played POE1 and reached the endgame, I ended up quitting too, because of the same reason, lack of drops, and realizing the game revolves more around trading than finding your own shit. Solo self-found basically. And this is the reason, RMT. People complain about On December being a pay-to-win game, but at least they are open about it. And funnily enough, in that game I never had any issues finding an upgrade or crafting one. It wasn't easy either, but it was much better than in POE2, and I never had to buy anything, not even stash tabs. I just quit because I was tired of the farm. It always happened to me with these games. I get bored and quit. I start finding the endgame loop pointless, but I didn't quit out of frustration or anything else. And this is supposedly a quote-unquote pay-to-win game bad, but it isn't, especially after a lot of the updates where they tone down the pay-to-win. Now, I am not defending pay-to-win. I am just saying that I find funny that a pay-to-win game is more accessible than the supposed quote-unquote avatar of good free-to-play model PoE. But I also played Last Epoch, and that game was also good. I never felt like I wasn't getting upgrades or that I was stuck. I also have played Stranger of Paradise, a game that I like a lot, and not only does it has actual good combat, but also is a traditional ARPG with loot and everything. So the problem is actually POE2 and PoE in general, and the reason why is because the game is made for RMT and you cannot make a game for RMT where you can be self-sufficient. You can't. You need to make the game punishing, the loot scarce, obnoxious, and frustrating to make the players want to engage in trading, and then push them to RMT, which is really fucking stupid, because the whole point of these games is to find the fucking loot yourselves, you motherfucking retards. This is also why they nerf builds to the ground, because they want you to reroll and start over again. You feel even more eager to engage in trading gear and potentially engage in the RMT business. It's also why World of Warcraft does the same. They nerf classes and buff others because they know their customers are addicted fanatics that instead of quitting the game, they will reroll the overpowered classes of the moment, and that means they will keep subscribed. Same thing with the toxic competitive multiplayer games like Overwatch, Fortnite, Dota, League of Legends, Apex, Valorant, etc. They use tons of evil shenanigans to keep you playing and spending money in their games, and they also run the RMT behind scenes that sells high-ranked accounts. The same reason why MMOs like WoW apparently can't get rid of bots, gold farmers, etc. It's all a big business, and only retards, fanatic tools, etc. don't see the whole picture because they are just NPCs that its sole purpose in this life is to be farmed. But that is the problem with this society and humanity. It's full of retarded motherfucker, narcissistic fanatics in need of attention. And they will do anything to get that attention. They will even ruin their hobbies and their own fun. This video, my videos, are for the enlightened, for the ones that notice, for the ones that see, not for the tools, the normies, the fanatics. If you see this, rejoice, because you are not one of these NPCs that are ruining the fucking world.